Welcome to the Industry Insider, brought to you by PROMOCORNER. Each week, promotional product professionals Meg Erber, Jeff Franklin, and Stephen McFadden, along with special guests, will discuss industry news, trends, and events with a focus on educating the promotional products industry. The Industry Insider, the nerdy news you need to know.
Welcome back to yet another exciting episode of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA, and I'm joined today by three other lovely folks. Why don't we say hi to Stephen McFadden first, because I know you're fresh off the boat.
I am. I am. It was quite lovely. I was just returned from the inaugural Promocations, where we left out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida on a 5-day adventure with distributors and suppliers and their plus ones. It was pretty awesome. So
you sound a little tired, so there must have been a lot of activities and things to sort of.
I'm actually just congested, so it's more of an allergy thing than a sleep thing. I probably got more sleep on the boat than I do in real life. So.
Well, did you go to bed early or did you stay up? Because I know when I was on my cruise, I was like so seasick that I'm like 7 o'clock. It's bedtime. They were like, "We want to go to the show."
It was a solid midnight.
Oh wow!
Night, so it was not. I mean, we didn't close down some of the clubs and bars, which were up until 2 and 3, but we were up there. It was good.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Meg Erber, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. The one thing I don't think I told you guys last week about the cruise that I went on the week before is one of the excursions that we went on. And I have to tell you, because it's typical Meg stuff. So we went to Belize and we had done the Crystal Cavern tubing. So we get there. By the way, the description was like tube through ancient Mayan caverns and learn history and XYZ. It's fine. Yeah, they definitely. Well, so we get there, and apparently, I'm definitely pronouncing this wrong. It's called Xabalba. Basically, it's the name of the underworld, and it's the entryway to the underworld of Mayan hell. And basically, where you get in is where they sacrificed over 30,000 people. Yeah, that's where we went. And then before that had happened, before we knew all that knowledge, I had looked down and I saw this rock and I'm like, oh, that's a neat rock. I'll take it as a souvenir. So I said,
no wonder Meg's having internet issues and computer issues. She freaking stole a rock from Mayan
hell.
Come on.
So,
come to find out, it was a skull.
Come to find out. So while we were in a typhoon that night on the boat, it then came to me and I was like, the rock. And so we had a complete oh my gosh, what do we do? So we said a little prayer and we released all the souls and we threw it into the ocean. I was like, there's no way I'm bringing that rock from hell straight home with me and cursing. It's like how every scary movie starts. So I'll have to find a picture of it and show you guys by the time this is over. But yeah.
Don't show me a picture.
No, it was...
It's not the same as taking it, Steven. I think you're okay seeing a picture. But I just want to give a special thanks to VJ for hooking us up with a special computer today, because this is the clearest Meg's been in a couple weeks.
Oh my gosh. What a nightmare. What a nightmare this has been.
Well, we are joined today by a very special guest, Kevin Walsh with Showdown, also the current chair, if I'm not mistaken, for the PPAI board, correct?
I am, and I don't have any stories about Mayan hell, so I feel like I'm coming ill-prepared.
Yeah, a little bit. It's hard to follow that act, that's for sure.
There it is.
What the of all the things, why is that the thing you took?
Because I was like, I don't know. I was like, oh, look, a cool rock. Let me take it home, give it to Addie, have a cool story. Oh my God, this is where people were sacrificed. All these souls are in this rock.
There's probably DNA on that rock. That's probably been used to smash skulls in or something. At some point.
God, it's in the ocean. It's the ocean's problem now.
Oh, you tossed it.
I tossed it. Said a prayer, prayed for the souls, and just chucked it over the edge of the side of the cruise ship.
Well, we know there's way more than 30,000 souls down there already, so you just added to it.
Just added to it.
Yeah,
that is all.
Fair enough. Well, Kevin, it is customary before we launch into the topic for today. It is customary for us to give our special guests a good 3 to 4 minutes to sort of introduce yourself, maybe how you got started in the promotional products industry, and what the hell you've been up to since. So take it away, sir.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, first of all, the opportunity to be on this amazing podcast that you have all pulled together. I'm flattered and clearly overdressed, but just the same. I'm an old man. I mean, I started in this business. I opened my first business in 1987. And it was a print and promotional company called Primary Impressions in Lawrence, Massachusetts, for all my New England friends out there. And since that time, I look at my career in the promotional products industry as really being in 3 distinct areas. The first, call it 10 to 12 years, I was in the printing side of the business. And from Primary Impressions, went on to run a pretty large printer up in upstate New York called New Buffalo Shirt Factory. And New Buffalo specialized in sports licensed products and concert merchandise. So it was some of my most fun years in the industry, providing stuff like swag and merch to concert tours like Garth Brooks and Elton John and Billy Joel when they did the Piano Man tour. So it was a lot of fun. And I had the opportunity. We were going through millions of T-shirts, literally millions of T-shirts. I had the opportunity to move on the supply side. So I actually moved to a company called VF Corp in 1987, which at the time had a facility in Martinsville, Virginia. If you're old enough in the industry, you remember the brand Bassett Walker. But Bassett Walker actually had a brand called Lee Printwear, and the Lee branded apparel was very popular around the country at the time. And I moved into that first as the Northeast sales manager, and then ultimately as the VP of sales when I relocated to Martinsville and Greensboro, North Carolina. And I was with VF for almost 15 years, working first in their knitwear division, then onto their workwear division, if you know Red Cap and Horace Mall and all their uniform sides.
That's the first company I recognize that you said.
Yeah.
I think we'll come in at different ages for everybody. Thank you, Stephen.
Well, Red Cap
I was
is
like,
still,
bingo, I got one finally.
Red Cap, they're all under VF Workwear still. So
Correct.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
And this was a coalition within VF called VF Imagewear at the time, and they had all the workwear brands. And then I ended up my career at VF at the Wrangler Jeans and Shirts as their VP of retail marketing. And that's when I got found by a gentleman named Ed Flaherty, who had this little tiny company up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, called Showdown Displays. And at the time, it was pretty small. I'd say it was probably about $18 million at the time. And he saw my background on the print side as well on the promotional side, and recruited me pretty hard. And I moved my family from North Carolina, if you can believe it, to Minneapolis, Minnesota in 2011. We've been here since. And, Showdown is nearly 10 times that size now. So it's been a heck of a journey.
How are the winters, though?
Awful. I joke about this because I was born in New Hampshire, so I'm not a stranger to the cold whatsoever. And I went to school at Syracuse and then lived in Buffalo for New Buffalo Shirt Factory. So I've done my share of time in the tier, especially the upper tier of upstate New York. But the winters here in Minneapolis are tough. And I always joke that the snow that falls at Halloween is the snow that melts at Mother's Day. And for those people who live here know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not like it snows and melts and snows and melts. It just stays once it gets here.
Wow. I think that's how it's like up in Maine. I just bought a house up there, Kevin, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm only going to probably go in the summers because I don't do winters like that. And is it worse in New Hampshire, or do you think worse in Minneapolis? Because we're right by New Hampshire.
I'd say the worst winters I ever experienced were Syracuse. Off the lake, it was pretty nasty. I lived on the coast of New Hampshire, so we had this I like to call it a large refrigerator out there. So the temperature of the ocean didn't allow a lot of snow to fall where we were at. But Buffalo and Syracuse, lots of snow.
Okay.
Well, good news is, Kevin, you're 2 weeks away from Mother's Day. So,
and I could show you a picture right now. There is no snow, so we're 2 weeks ahead of time.
Nice.
Very nice.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you for the introduction. Definitely nice to get to know you a little bit. So our topic for today, we want to talk NALC, which is the North
Pacific, Atlantic, Caribbean,
The
and
North American Leadership Conference by PPAI. It is an event that is coming up June 4th. And we're also going to talk about LEAD a little bit because originally when PPAI sent
Legislative
out
Education and Action
Day.
Day.
Hey, you got that one. All right.
Hey.
So look, originally when PPAI sent out the email marketing for NALC and LEAD, it almost sounded like they were coinciding. Like the participants from NALC would then end NALC by doing LEAD, which had never happened before. And that may have just been my error in reading it, because I know now that they are standalone events, and I've actually signed up for LEAD again. This will be the first in-person LEAD that we've done in 4 years. I want to say 3 or 4 years. It's been a minute. Yeah.
Jeff, are you able to sign up for it if you're not on a region, or do they only want the regional members to be,
No,
whatever? You know what I mean? Like the board members.
I got an invite.
Did you?
Yeah, you don't have to be.
I think I got an invite too. Sorry.
Yeah, any member of the association is welcome to participate. You don't need to be part of the regionals, although that's also welcome. What they are looking for is as much representation as we can get across the country, so that when we're scheduling the visits with the Congress people and the senators, there's an opportunity for each voice to be heard.
I will say, signing up for LEAD this year, I'm a little. I was a little curious how it was going to work for me, because in years past when I had gone, I lived in Maryland. My company was in Maryland, so I had always gone with CPPA and was going to see the legislators for the state of Maryland. And in 2020, we moved to Pennsylvania. My company's still in Maryland, but I wasn't sure how that was going to work, if they were going to put me with like the PAPA folks and I was going to go visit the Pennsylvania delegation, or if I was going to stick with Maryland. They kept me in Maryland. So I guess there's more of a precedence on where the company that you work for is.
Yeah, as because of the way the association memberships work, it's typically by the business. So whether it's a distributor or a supplier, wherever they're headquartered. For example, I live in Blaine, Minnesota, but our headquarters is in Brooklyn Center. Those are two different representatives, but we always petition the Brooklyn Senator, because we employ a little bit more than 400 people there. So that has a lot of influence, obviously.
Sure. 100%.
So do we want to kind of tell people a little bit about what those weeks are, just so I know we're pretty familiar with them in some capacity, but it might be good to set the stage.
Sure. Where do you want to start with, NALC or LEAD?
Yeah, let's go there.
Yeah.
So let me just back up for a minute, Jeff, and say you're correct. They're two separate events, but a change in schedule has allowed us to co-locate those events. So historically, NALC took place in August, and through some survey of attendees, we found that was not necessarily the best time for everyone to attend with all the other activities that are going on. So this is the first time NALC has been located in June, and because it was located in June, that's typically when we do our LEAD event. So this is an opportunity now not only to have the North American Leadership Conference earlier in the year and at a softer part in the industry schedule, so more people can attend. But to your point, if you attend the NALC and you would like to stay on for an additional day and participate in LEAD, that was one of the options that has been made that previously we weren't able to do that.
Gotcha.
And I'm really cool. Yeah, it really is exciting this year because we're having it in Washington, D.C. NALC is typically in some sort of resorty area. So I don't necessarily think of Washington as a resorty area, but it is the hub of influence for the United States. So the opportunity to be there gave us an opportunity to really build a whole agenda and conference around that experience. So we actually start that whole event with an evening at the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C., where everyone will get to opportunity to network with one another and get reacquainted with friends that we've known for years and years. And then the agenda's really built a lot around where we are located, with Bob Woodward, the famous writer and reporter from the Watergate scandal, is the keynote speaker on the first day of the event. So I'm really excited to hear that whole story, right?
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool to be like, I don't know. That's good. That's good. That's cool. Sorry, I was wondering.
No, that's all right. I mean, and we built an incredible agenda around that, not just from a DC standpoint, but also ways to help leaders be able to get more rounded about their business. In fact, myself and our VP of customer success, a gentleman named Jim Thompson, are actually presenting a whole segment on what we call EX equals CX squared. And essentially, most industries and businesses try to focus on the customer experience and try to enhance that to delight customers. At Showdown, we spend more time really working on the employee engagement and the employee experience, because it's been our experience, if you can get the engagement with your employees, the customer experience is multiplied by at least double. And that's how you end up with EX equals CX squared. So that's just one of the components. There's things on sustainability. There's things on how do we manage our way out of China. Elements like private equity, which has really increased its density in our marketplace over the last 2 to 3 years. And really around the whole idea of globalization, not just from a sourcing standpoint, but also as a distributor trying to cater to more of their businesses in not just North America, but around the globe.
Wow.
So who all is invited? Because I know I've gotten a couple emails, but like who are they targeting really for NALC?
So it's a great question. Typically, it's targeted at C-suite level distributors and participants at a distributor or supplier level. There are senior salespeople there. There are senior operations people there, but primarily you'll find presidents, CEOs, COOs, CFOs, and really having moved this now, the reaction has been overwhelming. We currently have a waiting list to participate at NALC, and we're excited that this could be one of the most or best attended NALCs in years.
That's amazing. And I am like looking at the list of speakers, and I remember the first women's leadership conference that I went to, Joanne was a speaker. And I think the biggest thing I took away from that was from her speech. And she was really trying to drive home the fact that you need to invest in yourself. So I'm excited for everyone that's going that gets to listen to Joanne. And then I see some other faces. I see yours. There's some couple Joshes in there, and then I don't know, Diane Porter, who I absolutely love from Sage, sure. Dale, yep. And everybody. So I think there's a really good lineup of speakers here, and I think that's always what people look at first. They look at the speakers and they look at the location.
I would agree with that, and I really believe that what we've tried to do with NALC over the past 10 years, but specifically on this agenda and conference, is so much of our efforts as leaders is working in our business and helping our teams to grow and advance. What NALC offers is leaders an opportunity to work on their business and on themselves to help their business, and be able to try to take yourself out of your day-to-day role and then be able to interact and network with industry colleagues and share challenges and opportunities that we're all experiencing and find ways to solve those together, I think is one of the coolest things about NALC. And frankly, one of the coolest things about our industry is that we're all willing to try to work together for the betterment of the industry.
Sure.
That's awesome. Now, I was at your session especially, or any other sessions. I know right now one of the things that we're seeing across the industry is a lack of company culture or the loss of company culture. Does your session tackle that at all, or any other speakers talking about that? Because I really feel like we're all dealing with it after COVID, and then when there's a lot of these acquisitions, that's the first thing that goes. Yeah. So if the audience and the target is the C-suites, then that's something that definitely should be addressed during the. Well,
it's certainly I would call the nucleus of the presentation that Jim and I will be presenting. We've gone through a lot in the last 4 years. I mean, COVID has redefined how businesses get run. And in many ways, we've been slingshot into the future and not necessarily been prepared to how to deal with that. And I don't know that we're going to be able to solve that for everyone here, but I do think taking a segment of this and focusing on how you build your culture in your business is one of the most important things a leader can do. I always joke that you can't put a foosball in the lunchroom and call it culture. I mean, there's much more to that than just having a game that people can play. And we spend an inordinate amount of time at Showdown in trying to create an environment that our employees want to come to work in and then thrive and grow. And as a result of that, that cascades out into what we do each and every day with our clients. And if you're not working on your culture these days, then obviously, then I would anticipate your business is not going to be as successful in the future. And what's really been difficult now is when everyone was in the building, you could treat everyone essentially the same or provide these same accoutrements. As you have some people who are hybrids, some people are remote, some people that are always in the building. You need to come up with more flexibility in order to provide those same types of perks and or recognition to individuals that is appropriate for where they are located in the building or outside of the building.
Gotcha. Any other questions regarding NALC from either one of you guys?
Stephen, you look like you had a question. Sorry.
No, I mean, it's great to hear about it. I've never attended, and it's something I will get to. Obviously, if there's a wait list already, and with my schedule this year, seems crazy. I'd say one of the wins, just hearing you all adjust schedules, based on the demand, adding that as a +1 day. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are thanking you for that, because having to travel to 2 different places, 2 different times of the year, you have the buffer day of travel before and after. I mean, traveling this year compared to most seems like a lot. So that's a super smart way to get more people involved in multiple events at one time, which I think is a huge win for you all. And hopefully you'll see that in the participation. And the people
I was going to ask, Kevin, do you have any of the data as far as how many people are attending NALC that are staying over to participate in LEAD?
I do have that number, at least as it stands today. There's roughly 30 of the participants in NALC that will be staying that extra day. And then there's another contingent of people coming in just for LEAD. So I'm really excited by the carryover, because that is a fairly significant percentage of those attendees.
Yeah, that's actually more than I thought it would be, because most of it, because you're saying, NALC is mostly the C-suite people. So I wouldn't expect, because in my experience with going to LEAD, it hasn't been a lot of those folks that are participating in LEAD, but that's really good that they would be there and they would carry over.
It really is.
Very excited about it. So anecdotally with Showdown, our CEO, John Brulman, will be coming in for NALC, and he's not previously participated in LEAD, but he's staying on. So again, awesome. It's great to have all the participants, but it is influential when we get into some of these offices, if we have CEOs and presidents that are leading companies, because it will hold some weight with those senators and Congress people. Excuse me.
To kind of piggyback and to keep going, because I know we don't have too much more time. Do you want to kind of give a little bit of info on LEAD and what kind of the expectations are for that day?
I would love to, actually. This will be the first time I've ever been able to participate in LEAD in person. Actually, I've done this twice, very much like we're holding this meeting here today. And while that has some impact, it is a little harder to really know how influential you were as you leave, because the screen turns off and you don't know what you're on to next. I have a number of people who are on our Midwest team that have done it in person before, and they have me very amped up to be able to participate and walk the halls of Congress and feel like you're making a difference. But essentially what happens is the PPAI has a group that's stationed in Washington that does interaction and government relations for us year round, all the time. And they're lobbying on behalf of the association and its members on some key aspects, things like, it'd be the Cool Online Act, which is very present right now, or you could get into the PRO Act, where I know there's a lot of concerns about independent contractors having to become employees in our industry. So those are some of the efforts that are underway on an ongoing basis. So what we then do is we break up into smaller groups with pre-scheduled appointments. So that group takes care of scheduling appointments with the representatives and senators around the country. Then schedules put together, and then you travel to those appointments together. We take a short period at the very beginning of the presentation and do I'm going to call it a elevator pitch on the industry and the importance of promotional products. And more than not, there's usually one or two that's right there on the desk when we're speaking with, whether it's a logoed mug or pen. And then we take some time to talk about the size of the industry and the number of its members. And then finally, the 2 or 3 different bills that may be underway that could be influenced by these representatives or senators at the time, and ask for their support. It's really it's an exciting time.
Yeah.
I've always really enjoyed it the times that I've done it. I did it,
too.
I think 3 or 4 years leading up to COVID, and then I did it 2 years during COVID on the virtual side of things. And it just, I didn't feel like it had that same impact. So I think the last year, I think I ducked out of it or something, but yeah.
I think it was really hard to do it remote. I do believe that our representatives preferred that because it could be much more time efficient, clicking in and clicking out. But I also don't think we get the same mind share that we would have had if we were present. So I am really looking forward to this.
Now, are they still taking people? Do you know? Is there a link that we could share? Or are they still accepting applications for people to join LEAD?
I believe you can still join LEAD. I did not check that this morning, but
Okay.
There is a element on the PPAI website which would bring you to LEAD. I know the initial groups have been set up, so depending on the size of that particular region would depend on whether or not you can still join.
Okay. That's awesome. Now, are there any, like, is there a goal for a goal that you guys have? I'm trying to remember what it was like when I went, but gosh, it was so long ago when I did go. And I know you guys had a ton of webinars leading up to it. You really hands-on with the people that are going, because I know you wanted to arm all of the salespeople or all of the, I guess, people like me that were going in to talk to the senators and constituents, everybody. So I think, I don't know. I really wish I could share more of my experience, but I think I was still so new in the industry that I was very nervous, and I kind of sat back a lot, and I kind of sat and watched, and I was really blown away. But you're right. I think just being there and being part of that movement and being able to talk to these people and knowing that you're making a difference for our industry is really inspiring. And I hope I have a chance to do it again.
Well, I believe our goal is to have in excess of 75 direct interactions.
Okay.
Now, we always schedule more than that because last things come up with senators and representatives. So some things get canceled off of the schedule. But if we can have 75 quality interactions with our representatives and senators around the country, then we would have a very, very positive day. And to your point, Meg, for any of those people who are like, I'm scared, I don't know whether I should do that. I was a first-time lead person just 3 years ago, and Chris Bucci has been, he was just awesome to kind of take you along. So there's always a veteran there to kind of show you the ropes. And then one day you'll find out you're the veteran and you're bringing other groups along behind you. So that, again, back to the collaboration of our industry, expect that in your lead participation as well.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who I was with, but yes, he was definitely a veteran, and I felt a lot more comfortable being with him, just walking around, because I'm like, he knows what he's talking about. I'm just going to listen. I'm going to learn.
Unfortunately, I think I'm the veteran in my group this year.
Yikes. No, I think that's actually good, Jeff. You are very intelligent when it comes to this stuff, and you know what you're talking about, and you're passionate about it. So I think you would be the right person to go in front of these people. So
thank you. So I do have the PPAI.org/events website sort of scrolling on the bottom of the banner. And if you are interested in signing up for LEAD, I had Maurice Norris's email address down there as well. And here it is again, mauriceN@PPAI.org. Unfortunately, this episode is pre-recorded and it's not going live until May 17th. So hopefully by then it's still not too late. But yeah, it definitely, if it's not, check with Maurice. And if it is too late, definitely don't miss the boat next year for sure.
Still email him for information.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Some of the best stuff that I've received in this industry has been from Lead. Like they give a lot, like a little black book full of statistics that you can sort of brush up on your industry nerdy news. I always bring up the fact that we're a 97% small business in this industry, and it breaks down by state. How many distributors are there, how many manufacturing jobs are there, all this other stuff in this little black book. It's an incredible resource, and it is available online as well. You can actually probably just Google PPAI little black book. But really, really good information. And we actually, Kevin, to your point, like making that connection and that impact, when you're there in person, they actually, PPAI in the past has always given us like swag, if you will, to give to people to leave behind so that they know exactly what our stuff is. And it's amazing because you go into their offices and you see all this different stuff. It's not just the stuff that we've given them. I mean, they're actually participating in our industry quite a bit. So it's easy to point out to them who we are, and then it clicks and they get it. You can't do that virtually.
No, you're absolutely right. And our industry is so tactile. I mean, that's a promotional products association. I mean, it's in our name. So having that connection and that ability to transfer that story to these influential individuals is critical for us to continue to represent the association and our members, but also to validate the value of promotional products in everyone's everyday life.
For sure.
I also think it's incredibly genius and perfect timing to do it. I know we touched about this earlier, but just thinking about it right after NALC, whenever I leave one of these conferences or have to listen to a keynote, I feel so inspired, like ready to go out and like make change and do all this. So you are having a keynote speaker and all these brilliant sessions. These people are going to leave and they'll go right and kind of talk to the people that are going to make the difference and make those changes. I just love that. I love that they're going to leave so inspired. And then it's like, right after that. So they're not going to lose any of that momentum. I just like that. That's all.
No,
yeah, that's pretty valuable.
Spot on. You're spot on. You get all that information and you get all jacked up about what's going on, all the good that's going on with the association, and then be able to walk down the street and convey that to the people who can make a difference. I think that's a huge opportunity.
100%. So yeah.
Kudos to PPAI and the board for scheduling that way. That's really good.
Well, I have to shout out to the staff. Ann Stone has done a phenomenal job. Maurice reports into Ann, does a wonderful job there. And Shannon Johnson handles a lot of the association like setup for hotels and all that. So the staff at PPAI is really, really put forth not just their best effort, but an effort that's timely, as Meg brought out, so that we can then leverage that right into this lead event. And of course, later on that month, June's a packed month. We got Women's Leadership Council right here in Minneapolis. So we're very excited about that. June's coming fast.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Kevin, Meg, Stephen?
No.
What? Nothing else?
Kevin, any questions for us?
Can we expect snow in June?
There will be no snow in June. I'm not going to guarantee it, but a high probability for sure. Any questions for you? I would say if I had one, it would be, how is the association treating you?
Interesting.
Well, we're not the redheaded stepchildren, I think, or maybe we are. No, I'm just kidding. No, the association, whenever we ask them to like be a part of our show because we need the news, we need whatever, they are so quick to just be like, yes, how can we help? So I would say 100%. They've been very supportive of us and our needs and looking for topics and data. Same with ASI. We haven't really hit many roadblocks, I would feel like, with our guests and people wanting to help and provide knowledge and support. Jeff?
That's great to hear.
I mean, I think the relationship's been good. Like you said, anytime that we've needed something, we've been able to get it. Anytime that we've wanted somebody to come on as a guest, we've been able to get it. I have maybe in some of the publications, like if somebody's been on, I haven't really seen any follow-up or it being posted in publications, but I don't necessarily think that is on anybody in particular.
We'll get on Josh.
I don't know how any of that works. So maybe that's on us. Maybe we're supposed to be pushing that stuff. I don't know.
That's good to know. We can make sure that we do some more promotion.
Sounds
All right.
good.
I like it.
Yeah.
Very good. Steven, what about you?
I mean, from the show perspective, I think that we have everything. It's been, from a personal perspective, I think there's been a lot of transparency, which I think has been nice. I've kind of had to, I've gotten myself involved in a lot of things where I've had that opportunity, and I even got to go down to the PPAI office in Texas. So, just to see, put names, with faces and buildings with the names of the company, it makes a whole lot more sense. But just learning a lot about, what the past few years were like, it wasn't unique for PPAI like it was in some industries, right? So there's been a lot of transparency with a lot of that communication and knowing what everyone's been through, and then also kind of working together with figuring out like, all right, well, what do we need to do for the future, and what are some of the things that I'm working on, and I'm like, I need a tool for this. Like, okay, like let's figure out how to make you a tool for that, or you can help make that tool, right? So, sure. So it's been pretty good. I think that there's a lot of optimism for the future for sure.
Well, I'm excited to hear about that, and I'm very optimistic. I just came from the spring board meeting. We just got done in Colorado Springs on Friday. A lot of exciting things coming members' way, not the least of which is the relaunch of PPAI.org in mid-July. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, nice.
Very cool. Get a little bit of scoop, some inside stuff here. That's awesome.
If you stayed for the end of the show, then you get to know that.
We'll find out how many people do, right?
Yeah.
We'll have to put a caption on it like they do on the TikToks. Just wait for the end.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
You won't believe the ending.
All right, guys. Well, look, I've had fun. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. And I'm glad to hear that there's no snow outside.
Yeah. Well, I'm again flattered for the opportunity to participate. You guys are doing a phenomenal job on this. And thank you for letting us share a little bit about NALC and LEAD, maybe even tweak about WLC too. Yeah. Really appreciate the time together. It's always great to see your faces.
Oh, you too, Kevin.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. And looking forward to seeing you in DC.
You got it.
All right. Take care, guys. Until next time.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Promo Corner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.